Welcome back, guys.
It's Mel
and Mo,
and today is just actual story time for one of the most frequently asked questions about
us.
How we met. So, would you like me to start, or you want me, or are you gonna take it?
You should start.
Okay. So, for those who don't know, who are new to the channel, just clicking in, I've been in the military, in the Navy, for 13 years now. 13 years now. And Mo was a Marine.
I got out. I did 4 years in the Marines, and I got out last year, and I'm back to school right now.
He got out in 2020. So, okay, how we met. The first time I've ever seen this guy, I was planning a Christmas party at our command. A command is pretty much where we work. So that was a joint command where they had both Navy and Marines working together. So upon planning this Christmas party, I go into his workspace and I'm talking to my coworker who worked where he worked at, because we worked in separate departments. And when I walk in there, I hear Fantasia, and I'm like, who's playing Fantasia in here? And they all point to him, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what does this Asian man know about
Wow.
Literally, that's how I felt.
I feel like that's so weird to me, just because like growing up in Bay Area, it's very diverse. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that label, that I guess that stereotype is kind of
ignorance.
It's still very new to me.
Yeah. I'm like, what is he doing playing Fantasia? Okay, but nonetheless, he turns back with this like sarcastic, like,
not sarcastic. It was really
nonchalant. It was really nonchalant.
That's a better word, because I didn't care. I was like, I didn't care who talked to me. I was like, yo, why are you talking to me?
Oh, excuse me. Right? So he does that, and I continue talking to my coworker, but in my mind, I'm like,
she's thinking of me. Thinking of me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's cute. Okay. And I left it at that, and then I continued doing what I was doing. After that happens, after that transcends, in my mind, I leave their work center, and I'm like, yo, he's kind of cute.
That's funny, because at that moment, I was also like, I saw her, I was too cool. I was like, all right, cool. Let me just. I noted, checked her. I was like, okay, she's cute. She's cute. And then boom. So that's funny, because like I would be like, okay, maybe when's the next time she's gonna come by? So I have to get my playlist game strong. You know what I mean? Like I would. You know what I mean? Like you just
I got you. I didn't know that. Mind you, I didn't know that. Whenever
she comes, that she wants to continue to visit or just stay there for a little bit when you got
interesting.
So
Didn't know that part.
I use music to seduce your way.
So then time goes on. I go back in there and I tell my coworker, like maybe like a week or 2 weeks later, I was like, I think I had like a crush on the guy that works for you in your work center. And she was like, what? Girl, because I think he got a crush on you too. I was like, what? This is legit.
That's funny.
But I was like, don't say nothing, because at the time, I mean, obviously we're both out of the military. Well, he's out of the military now. At the time, I'm like, I can't talk to him because he's a lower rank than me. That's fraternization. But
honestly, with you being in a whole
it didn't even matter.
Department, to me, I was like, I didn't look at it as fraternization.
Should we just grab him for the story? Or just leave him? So anyhow, I actually tried to find his Instagram. I was like, yo, let me find his Instagram and see how he looks out of work. Because you can see somebody at work in uniform, you know, he clean cut, crisp. I'm like, okay, but how does he look outside in regular clothes? Because that's a big deal. Like, when I say big deal, not the clothes, but somebody's like persona and appearance out of work, if that makes sense. Because he could be a totally different person out of work.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, how you dress really, you know, tells a lot about you.
Correct. So he had a clean cut uniform and everything, but in my mind I'm like, okay, so how does he look outside of work? So I think I finally told him the other day actually how I even found his Instagram. Like I went through like a couple of people that we knew, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just type in his last name. Like find. It never popped up. So I went to Facebook. So I went to Facebook.
Which you put King.
And I put I put King, and then I found it. I finally found. I was like, okay, but on his Facebook he had all these old pictures. I'm like, this is like real old, like high school old. Yeah. And I ended. You gonna get him?
No.
I ended up going and actually finding his Instagram from his Facebook. So I found his.
How'd you find my Instagram?
How did I find the Instagram from Facebook?
No. That's how you found me?
I found you from Seafood.
Right.
Yes, but I'm saying I found your Facebook first. But it didn't have the pictures that I needed to see exactly what I wanted. So then I go to his Instagram. Did I add you first?
You did.
Okay.
So that's where I guess I could step in. So I'm having brunch with the people, like ironically the people that I work with that knows her, right? Having brunch with them, and then they bring her up too, like yo Kang, like husbands, like she actually, you know, she comes by and asks about you, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, so I'm just getting all the information for myself so I can do what I gotta do back door to get to you, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not gonna use them, or again, you know, her being a higher rank and me being a lower rank than her, I was also kind of like iffy, like, oh, is this okay? Like, so I was just gathering information to them. I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, so literally on my way back from that brunch, that's when I got a friend request, and I was like, yes, I'm in.
You was in. You was far from it. But then he slid in my DM. No,
so that's okay. Also okay.
Well, he might have.
That's probably the only thing. That's the one thing that I always tell you it's not, because
you slid in my DM.
No, look. Goodness. I never wanted like our relationship to start from like, yeah, he slid like this, like slid in my DM and we started from DM. No, I wanted like straight, like physical, like I wanted to be the person that will ask my wife's number, like, yeah, so I can tell my son like, yo, go up there, like, you know, I did with your mom. Keep it old school, that classic, you know what I mean? Don't be scared. Or I'm not saying, like, these days it's really hard not to kind of, I guess, ask people like, yo, do you like me, whatever. But I think that classic is just, I don't know, it's a better story. I made sure, I was like, yo, you know what, if I'm gonna start talking to her, I'm gonna at least have a conversation outside of social media or anything like that, you know what I mean? So I would start parking very close to her cars.
I never do that.
Rule number one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what?
I started to notice where she parked, so I would park it. I would steal her spot, or I would park right next to it. You feel me? So if I steal her spot, now we got a little fun game that we can be like, yo, that's my spot. That's like my, like,
never cared.
You know what I'm saying? I thought that was cute, so like I started doing that, and then soon enough, yeah, like we would bump, like we would go home during the same time, so we would have to talk to the car or something. So I caught you, I don't know, I think it was after my lunch break.
Okay.
And I was leaving inside. I was leaving the car, and then you were going into your car, and I was like, yo, no, I'm sorry. It was when we were both leaving work, and I was like, yo, I didn't know you wrote a book.
That is a fact. Because
I went to, obviously I checked her Instagram after. I noticed that she wrote a book, and if you guys watched our previous video, she talks about her book as well as her as my mother-in-law and her mother's book. But going back, I actually really thought that was interesting, so I asked her in person. I was like, yo, tomorrow, if like whenever we meet, I gotta ask. So I had that question in my, like, literally over here everywhere I walked. So when I met her, I was like, hey, how's it going? Boom, boom. I didn't know you wrote a book. And then you said something.
I don't even remember what I said, but I was like, why you didn't get it or something like that. I don't remember.
I'm trying, like, basically, I don't want to buy it through her website. I want to buy it from her, like, exchange. And that's what led to us playing basketball.
Oh, you got far.
Yeah.
So I think what happened was he ended up. This is how he slid in my DM. He said, why didn't you? Yeah, he hit me on Instagram after that conversation that he said, oh, I didn't know you wrote a book. And then he wrote on Instagram pretty much like saying something to meet up, something about the book. It was something about the book. I can't remember verbatim. But we exchanged numbers, I believe.
Through Instagram at least.
Through Instagram. Yeah, we exchanged numbers. We started texting.
And then you know how it goes. Like, she becomes the main texter for me, you know what I mean? Like, you're the only person that, like, if I'm using my phone, like, it's because I'm talking to you. Yeah,
he was a little tooty, I think, because when I first started texting him, I didn't know that if I didn't reply right away, that was, like, annoying to you.
What?
I remember you told me, like, you take really long to reply. Like, I mean, I know you have your phone in your hand 24/7.
Oh, yeah, that's true, like, that's true.
She played games. I was like, what?
That's what I thought it was. I'm like, yo, cause me, I don't like games. You feel me? And like, I knew she, you know, I felt a good vibe from her. And then I was giving her the same good vibes. You know, she's always on her phone. So when I text her or something like that, and that's gonna sound so like forced, but look, hear me out. I'm gonna text her like something simple, right? Like maybe like, hey, good morning, like, or something like, did you eat? You know what I mean? Simple, yes, or something, right? Sure, like, I'm not saying you gotta reply right away. I'm not saying you gotta reply, but when you know that person literally stays on her phone for like, she stays on her phone, and 3 hours later, you're like, well, damn, like, and then I see her walking and stuff,
I legit would be doing something, and
she playing games.
No, like, I'm legit doing something. And sometimes you ladies.
But you understood that though.
You don't gotta text right.
Oh, hell no, of course not.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't ignoring him. I just would be doing something, then I'll be like, all right, let me get back to him, like that.
That was something so small.
What was the first thing we did together? I think the first thing we did together was play basketball. Or did we go out?
No, we my first date with you was rainy.
Okay, so we could cut it, and then so pretty much after all of that, we actually ended up, after texting, he ended up saying like, would I like to go out to eat or whatever, and I remember specifically that day when he came and got me. It was like raining outside.
It was.
And when I got in the car, he pulled up to where I lived, and I got in the car, and he like handed me the flowers from the back. I'm like, oh, he's a gentleman, like, yeah. Like, what's going on?
I had to open the door for you.
Oh, he opened the door.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay.
I had to make it right.
Then his playlist in the car, you could just tell he was set up for a date. I'm like, what do you know about these songs? And we're driving and we're talking. So I'm like, okay, we go out to eat. And our first date, I can say, it sounds so, what's the word? Like, what? I know I wanted to be with him from our first date because of the conversation that we had. You remember what we talked about?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Ooh.
We were talking about, basically, obviously work in the career, you know what I mean? Like, do you see, you know, we were sharing each of our military career, like how we see it in the future, right? That, and obviously faith. That was the biggest problem. That was the biggest conversation. The two biggest conversations.
The biggest conversations we had was around God. At the time, I was practicing abstinence and waiting for marriage to be intimate with someone.
I had to tell her first date. I had to tell her.
And he was like, yeah, because I'm like, so in my head I was like, oh God, you sent him to me. This is what I'm thinking. Just
let her know. Hey,
he's saving himself for marriage.
Yeah, I'm saving myself for marriage.
And I'm like, this is so uncommon because in today's society, you know what I mean, everything is glorified and sex is like this big idol
so
for
casual.
people, and it's like whatever. And I'm like, well, hopefully let me just put it out on the table so he knows. And long and behold, we were on the same page, which is weird. Not weird, it was a blessing in disguise, actually. It was not weird.
Because look, people say it, but once you get there, it's like really hard.
Very really hard to keep that going, for sure. But that happens, and I pretty much knew, like, I was like, oh my God, I really like this guy.
She even told me, I think she even told me Cairo's name.
I did.
Did you?
I actually said, whenever I have a kid, his name's gonna be Cairo. First date, guys.
She had this name before I even met her.
I surely did. I was like, yeah, my son is gonna be named Cairo. And I think after that date, we just kind of like kept hanging out. We played basketball together.
Cause there was
during that date, I think we spoke about basketball and.
Nah, cause I told her I play a little bit. She said she was telling me her whole profile in basketball. She's nice. No, she's nice. I'm playing. She's nice. She's nice.
I can play basketball.
Cannot up me, but she's nice.
I shoot way better than you.
But you can't up me. Well, we talked about basketball, but during that time, she was in this committee that was, what is it? The winter ball?
Oh, the Christmas party.
The Christmas party. You need a date. So I try to ask this girl on a date. You want to tell them that's okay?
If you beat me in basketball or something, what was it? Like if I beat you, I could go, like I'll take you to the Christmas party.
Basically, I played for a spot as her date.
He was like, we're gonna play basketball, and if I win, I could be your date to the Christmas party. Now the only dilemma with him being my date to the Christmas party is I already had a date to the Christmas party. I already had somebody that said I was gonna go to the Christmas party.
She already had a date, and she was poking around, getting my hopes up.
I wasn't poking around. I literally was like, this hard dilemma because this person already purchased a Christmas ticket, everything. We weren't like together by no means, but at the same time, I'm like, damn, I can't tell him you can't go all of a sudden. I probably could have, but that's just rude.
I wanted her to.
He really did.
Because she would be like, oh man, I don't really, like, I think going with you would be more fun. I'm like, yeah, you should
He really wanted me to not have any heart, and I wasn't going to do that. I was just like, okay. I think I went with him to get his Christmas party outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I helped him pick out his Christmas party outfit, everything. And I didn't go with him. I actually had another date. But I was actually the host of the Christmas party that night. Mm-hmm. And hosting that night, I remember like anytime there was like a dance break, I kid you not, I felt like I would look to my peripheral and he would just be going off on a dance floor. Like he wanted to let me know.
I was dancing for you.
You should have came with me.
Oh yeah, that was dancing with you.
I was like, oh wow, he is going in right now. And that's the first time I'm lying. I knew he could dance because he used to dance around me when we was playing basketball and like little dates leading up to the Christmas party. I knew he could dance, and I'm like, yo, he is so fun and dope, and it's like my little. Thought it was so cute. It felt like he was dancing for my heart. Thank you guys for tuning in with us for this part of how we met. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you guys.